welcome to another episode of Conversation with a Chef. I'm Jo Ritty and I love sharing with you the conversations I get to have with talented and passionate chefs. It's the backstory, if you will, to the food they're putting up. I begin today by acknowledging the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation, traditional custodians of the unceded land where this conversation takes place, and I pay my respects to their elders past, present and emerging. After a few years working across Australia, Asia and London, Maltese chef Jonathan Brincat went back home to Malta to cook his own food his own way. He opened Noni in Valletta, a restaurant built on the flavours he grew up with and refined through years in other kitchens. Noni has held a Michelin star for the past 6 years. Noni is about Maltese food, but not as you might expect. Dishes that start with memory and familiarity are reworked with technique and precision. The flavour stays front and centre, the rest follows. Jonathan is in Melbourne for the Food and Wine Festival, bringing a version of Noni to Maha using Australian produce. It's the first time a Maltese chef has been part of the global series, and it's a chance to put Malta and his take on it on the table here. Hi Jonathan, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. Feeling good in Melbourne.
Great.
I'm enjoying the city, enjoying the food culture here. So,
Is this your first time to Melbourne?
the first time to Melbourne, yes.
Yeah, wow, okay. I wanted to start just with perhaps positioning you. So I know that you're known often by your nickname Noni.
Noni.
Yeah. Can you tell me the story about
Yes.
where that came from and how it's entered into your career as well?
So, actually, it came from Australia.
Oh.
So, my grandfather, his proper name was Arone. And when he came here to work, because he used to come to Australia, go back, come and go back. Obviously, they abbreviated his name, Arone, to Noni. And then when he settled back in Malta, they had a grocer first, and he opened a household shop, and the name was Noni.
Ah.
And it was a casa bottega, we call it. So you have the shop at the front and the house at the back. So all of us kids, cousins, and so on, we used to always run around in the shop, help wherever we can, and so on. And in my town and everywhere, everyone didn't know our name. So yes, you're Noni, you're from Noni. And when I started my first job, so the head chef used to know a bit my family and so on. And all right, Jonathan, you're Noni, and it stuck. So I went to an interview once, for a job, and they saw my CV and no, this is not yours. This is Jonathan Brincat. I looked at him, I thought, yes, that's me. But you're Noni. Yes, that's my nickname, And obviously, when it came to opening my own restaurant, the name, I think, just created itself, my grandfather didn't have the shop anymore. He wasn't alive anymore at the time. So it was a different other thing. And I always said, one of the rules, if I have a name, whatever restaurant I have, it's going to be a 4-letter word.
Wow.
So that really fit in. It's part of our DNA nowadays, and everyone still knows us as Noni, my father, he's a Noni, so all my family is.
Love that. It's so nice. And it's got such a nice, cozy feel to it, even though it's a fine dining restaurant.
Yes, but although we're a fine dining restaurant, it's still quite cozy. From our food to our service, it's like stepping into a Maltese family home.
Yeah, amazing. And just to keep on that family link for a while, I know that you grew up on the flavours of your mother and grandmother's cooking.
Yes.
Can you tell me a bit about some early childhood memories of food?
So we have always been around food. So as I was saying earlier, I grew up in the 80s, early 90s, so restaurants were a treat. So even you're not gonna go out to eat even during lunchtime and so on. So mothers, grandmothers, all the women, most of them, they didn't used to work at the time, so they go shopping early in the morning, and there's always a pot going on, mainly for lunch, and then another one for dinner. So you would have like a soup going on and something for that. But mainly, I was growing up eating homemade food, like being out at the restaurant, it's a treat, and most probably you would go for a pizza. I think I had my first steak when I was 12 or 13, so unless it's cooked at home or something like that, and you see the ingredients, and you're running there in the kitchens, and you're seeing how they're doing the pastry dough, or what's in season, and if any fish came in, and they're doing some fish soup, and then with the bycatch, and then the main meal would be like either fried fish or steamed, or whatever is going on. And I used to pick on those things, and they are imprinted in my memory. And when I see a dish, or I'm preparing a dish or whatever, it comes from that memory I generated along the years, and the flavors and smells I was brought up. And I try to re-encapsulate that to other people.
Amazing. So having that strong family background in food and in loving food, what drew you to hospitality? When did you know that you wanted to be a chef?
I think it's the only thing in life that I always knew I wanted to do. When I was 8 years or 9, I think someone of my family got ill, and my mom had to go with them to the hospital, and they left my cousin with me. He's the same age of mine. I told him, today we're gonna do pasticci, like these pastry things and so on, and we're gonna sell them. Obviously, and sausage rolls and so on. Final result was a big mess in the kitchen. We ate what we produced, and obviously I got scolded by my mom because I left a whole mess in the kitchen. But I always knew I wanted to cook, and I think it's my way of showing love to people, like how I care for people. Like, it's my way of expressing myself by cooking for people that I care about and our guests, like it's my word of expression, basically.
And early in your career, you travelled, we lived in other countries, so Australia, Asia, and London. What did you take from those experiences into your cooking?
I took a lot, but besides that, it made me realize that how often we didn't take care of our cuisine, or we weren't proud of it, how very low we thought about our cuisine, so and while I was doing food that others created and so on, I said I can use this method to do that kind of sauce better, or to represent that fish. I was in London, and I cut a tomato and I smelled it, and it smells and tastes like water. While back at home, if you cut a tomato and you smell it, it smells like summer, like soil, like leaves. And I was like, wait, why? It wasn't done before, but why cannot I do it myself, And that was how the DNA of the restaurant was built. So I didn't want any other restaurant. I could have gone another way and do French classical or fusion or that, but it wouldn't have been me. So I wanted to tell my own story in my own country, and with a lot of the produce I have on the island as possible.
When did you realise that you were ready to go back and do that? How long were you away?
I was away in total almost 5 years, going back and forth. In the meantime, I went back, I opened the restaurant for someone else. I said the situation. But then I think by time, start craving a bit of growing root somewhere. And I knew I could have opened a restaurant around the world wherever I wanted, and it would have been most probably 10 times easier. Because first of all, what we do, the fine dining scene and so on, it's not always well accepted by locals. So, you know, and I started slowly. The restaurant evolved, so I didn't start refined as what we are serving today. But funnily enough, that was my misconception. As soon as we opened, we had a great response from the locals, and they used to come, and my grandmother used to do. You brought me down that memory, you know, like and all of a sudden, so something that was frowned upon, or you know, like going out and eating a steak, it's like doing something dumb. But going at Noni and eating the a version of the, we call it steamed beef. It's not steamed, but it's cooked down over like a bain-marie and so on. And eating that at Noni, it's a bit cooler than eating a steak that has been grilled and, you know, that everyone is doing. And it was very successful, like from the start, you know. And once I had like people going through the door, so that was the main aim. First of all, like it's a business, because sometimes we tend to forget that, but you can love it as much as you want. You can put your heart as well. If it's you're not getting people through the door, sometimes chefs get too egoistical and egos go up, and I want to do this thing and it's not gonna sell. No. And what I said, you know, I was very diplomatic about it. Let's start baby steps, and every day we're gonna refine something till nowadays it's unrecognizable from what we were doing till what we are doing. But obviously we built on that reputation, you build that trust with people, and we have people who were coming since the beginning that are still coming. Some of them dropped because it was too refined for them, or you know, like that. But other people join. You're hitting different demographics of food lovers, or you know, but you need to build very good roots first.
Yeah. So you've mentioned the traditional maybe base for some of the dishes, and that some people, it reminds them of their childhood, but also you've mentioned refined techniques and so on. Can you just tell me a bit more about some specific dishes so I get a feel for what does new Maltese look like?
New Maltese is something which we created. So like if someone asks me what is your cuisine, because it's new Maltese, but let's say you have a soup that will have tomatoes in it, beans, legumes, and so on. And instead of serving it looking like that, I will cook the same thing, most probably with the skins of but I will make it into a consommé. Then I will cook the beans and whatever apart, place them nicely in the dish, you know, add the herbs to them and so on, that they are really appealing and good in taste, that they matter in the plate. And then like this consommé, which has been filtered, get a bit more strength, maybe with adding some white soy, or instead of salt or something like that. We're not, you know, like we're just using different techniques and so on, and we're refining it and but it's not gonna be 100% authentic, but in Malta, even like how my mom does baked pasta and how my cousin's mom does baked pasta, it's all different, you know? So it's our version of refining that dish. It's what brings memory to us, what appeals to us.
Yeah. And when you're planning your menu, where do you start? Do you start with produce, or do you start with an idea? Are you already seeing how it might be plated up? Like, what's the process?
Always produce.
Yeah.
Produce comes first and flavor.
Yeah.
From then, we'll obviously with produce, you have a core memory. So you know that in around Easter time, you're going to have lamb, for example. And so I know I'm going to have lamb. So, and then I will remember, for example, like a kind of moussaka. It's very similar to moussaka, like my mom used to do. So I start with that. And then you start building and arranging, and I will twist. Then obviously you start your R&D, the vegetables that are gonna go with it if you need any, and so on. But most of the time, a dish will take us. A new dish definitely will take 2 to 3 months of works on it to finalize the last serving dish.
And how often do you change the menu?
We change quite often, so we have, let's say, 4 seasons a year. Winter, it feels almost like autumn, it's quite long, and summer period is quite long as well. Summer would be the hardest for us because when it comes to vegetable-wise, nothing much grows apart from the usual suspects like tomato, aubergines, peppers, and so on and so forth. But we went back to what our grandmothers used to do. So when you have time of abundance, you're gonna preserve for time when you don't have. So let's say if we get globe artichokes that are till March or mid-April, we get not huge amounts, but the amounts that we know that we're gonna use. We're gonna clean them, preserve them, and we're gonna use them at a later stage. So it would be, we were gonna serve fresh tuna, which is in season, with pickled or confit or preserved, in a way it's preserved or fermented, globe artichokes. But we have done that, and it's not inventing the wheel. We just went back and saw what our parents, grandparents, what they used to do. And we're using the same idea, but with, obviously, we have better machinery, better techniques, better knowledge, and preserving them to the best as we can.
And you've held on to a Michelin star for a long time.
Yes, 6 years now.
Congratulations. Was that important to you to have that recognition?
At the time, yes. Why? Obviously, I worked in Michelin star kitchens around the world. And obviously, it was always a dream to have a Michelin star. But it was a dream, and it was almost inaccessible because we never thought. There were always talks that Michelin are going to come to Malta. They might come, they might not. And always, okay, like, you know, like whatever it is, they come. But as soon as we heard they are coming, it would be nice to have a star and so on. And then you have all this chit chat before who might get the star and so on. There was a restaurant because they always used to do fine dining and so on. And everyone thought that they're gonna get the star. And I said, okay, maybe. I wasn't even expecting it that much. I knew that we were doing a good job when it comes to flavors and so on, you know. But the thing with Michelin is you never know exactly what you're being judged on or so on. And the first time they came over to Malta, you know, like I was one of the first 3 restaurants to get a star. And yes, it adds the pressure and so on and so forth. But then it's like every other thing. The buzz and the adrenaline is so good that if I have one, why cannot I have 2?
Yeah.
So you're always trying to push yourself to be better, but you never have to forget, because I pass through it sometimes, you're not cooking for the guide. You're not cooking for any guide. You're cooking for the customers every single day. So those are your guide. You have 26, 28 customers that are your inspectors every single day. So, because people tend to, let's put caviar on this dish, because no, just do your own thing, your own identity, and keep on sticking to what you do best.
And with that pressure, either from the guide or from the guests coming in, can you still get joy from cooking?
Luckily, yes. There were times where I went a bit off the road, because you don't even realize that you're... But nowadays I come to this conclusion, it's pressure is how much you put on yourself. And I love cooking. I don't love the administration part of the restaurant. I hope my sister is not hearing this, because she does most of the work. But I love being in the kitchen. I love being around produce. I love being in markets. I love meeting fishermen. I love meeting people who are going to speak about... I love everything related to food. I love tasting, smelling, And that, I take that bag of ideas with me in the kitchen, and obviously we're going to create, we're going to push on, and I love infecting the people around me with these ideas, with this enthusiasm, like, yes, some days can be hard and you're not enjoying it. It's very hard work at the end of the day, but then you look at what you did. All right, we managed to do it, yes. Something broke during service, like, we're only human. Sometimes you just want to throw everything in the air and leave home. But at the end of the day, you come back another day and it's going to be easier. And so, yes, I love it with all my heart, what I do.
And now you're here in Melbourne, lucky us, for the Melbourne Food and Wine Festival. And I saw a little video that you did, perhaps it was in Malta before you came, talking about, or it might have been in Sydney, but you were saying that you're basically bringing Noni here to Maha.
Yes.
Yeah.
But obviously with Australian ingredients, because border control in Australia is quite harsh, so there's no... And yes, so basically the idea, obviously some ingredients are not the same, but the idea of it. So what I would be serving at the restaurant would be transformed here, but with Australian ingredients, and I'm blown away with the quality, with the amount of ingredients there is. So yes, obviously I have a lot of help from Shane and Maha and so on. Luckily, he has quite a bit of Maltese knowledge, so he knew like olive oils and stuff that I would be needing and so on. And I hope the people, like, on the 4 days that we're doing, like, will get a small taste of Malta and want them and make them want to actually visit the whole thing, like, this is just a tiny bit and one person representing what can be done.
This is the first time that a Maltese chef has been part of the global category in the Melbourne Food and Wine Festival, which is so great for us. obviously you'd like people to go to Malta and visit that for themselves, but what do you hope that diners will take away from them after that dinner?
That it will be a nice memory,
Yep.
and actually they would know what Malta is, where it is, because whilst my travels earlier on in life, especially in Asia and even a bit here, parts in Australia, but people, even in London, people wouldn't know where Malta is or what it is, and we have our own language, our own cuisine. So I want to transport that and yes, take a piece of, now I'm being a bit selfish, but not a piece of Malta, but a piece of Noni with them home.
Lovely. And I'm always intrigued when chefs do collaborations, when you step into someone else's kitchen, how do you get a sense of the flow of that kitchen? Is there something you have to do once you're in that space to come to terms with it, because it's not your own kitchen?
So the first thing is respect. I've been in kitchens all over the world, so the first thing is you're gonna respect where you are. You're gonna see how the show is run. Mainly, I will take care about the flavors of the food, how it's gonna look, how it's plated, and so on. Then you're gonna get the seniors, and you're gonna split the jobs between who's taking care of what and so on. You're gonna have the head chef who's hosting you with you, and most probably you're gonna run the service together. But I believe this is the nice thing about my work, that chefs, if you see one, you've seen a lot, when it comes to mentality, we all have that produce driven, at the end of the day, we want to make our guests happy. So everyone is going to work hand in hand to make the thing go. We're very crafty when it comes to last minute mishappening. So obviously, if you work in a kitchen, you have to think fast, act fast. So it's a global thing.
Thank you. I'm coming to one of your dinners and I can't wait.
Thank you so much.
So thank you so much for your time and all the best for this week.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Conversation with a Chef with Jonathan Brincat at Noni in Malta, cooking with our own chandelier at Maha at the Melbourne Food and Wine Festival. You can check out all the goodness from their respective restaurants on Instagram at Noni Valletta, that's NoniValletta, and at Maha Restaurant. If you'd like to hear more stories from other chefs, I'm also on Instagram at Conversation with a Chef. You can read this chat online at www.conversationwithachef.com, and of course you can follow me on Apple and Spotify podcasts. I would absolutely love it if you told a friend about my chats. I still think it's the best way to get these delicious stories out into the world. Once again, thanks so much for listening. Have a great day and bon appetit.